Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I do a podcast series called The Joe Jackson Interviews, which is based on roughly 1,400 interviews I did with celebrities over a 25-year period. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbeam, all major podcast servers. But what you're about to hear is a section from my latest podcast in the Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll series. And this is PJ Proby from an interview I did with the man in 1987. But here I must add a word of warning. His language is at times racist. Whereas I use the word blacks, Proby prefers another word that was offensive to me then, and maybe I should have told him so, and definitely will be offensive to nearly all listeners today. And by the way, if you want to read the article that came out of this meeting with PJ Proby, check my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com. At this point, near the start, Proby was telling me about the night he met one of Elvis's ex-girlfriends, Dorothy Harmony, at a party in the company of Eddie Cochran and Sharon Shealy. But suddenly, Proby took a sideswipe at the singing style of Elvis Presley.
And here I sounded too much like Elvis. And I couldn't help it because most Southern boys sound fairly alike, and that's the Elvis sound. Yeah. It's not the nigger sound like they say Elvis. He sounds about much like a nigger as that soda pop over there is goddamn Jim Beam bourbon.
So you don't think that whole thing of Elvis being the kind of...
No, I'm the white nigger, not Elvis. Elvis couldn't sound like a nigger if his life depended on it. I've got tapes over there. I can sound like Big Bill Brunsey, Lead Belly.
You don't think he could sound like Crudup and people like that? And
he didn't have one nigger sound in his body. He's totally hillbilly. And country, the ink spots, that kind of colored sound.
Well, no, the whole thing's changing now. In that article on Elvis there, I'd say that he was more a pop singer too. Like the Dino influence, Dean Martin.
Well, that was his big god.
Yeah.
That's who he... In fact, Sam Phillips had to tell him to stop singing like that.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to do the Buonasera, Signorita. You know?
Dino.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Sam who pushed him into the Crudup. That's all right.
Well, Sam tried to get him black as hell. Yeah. You know, and it was hard because Elvis sang like a woman. He didn't even sound like a man.
Like on Blue Moon.
Yeah, real high. And he didn't sound loud. That's where Elvis imitators come unstuck.
Oh,
when they're trying to imitate Elvis, they should not try to sound loud because that's the equipment that's making him sound loud. When Elvis sings in front of you, you can barely hear him. He whispers when he sings because most of it is in falsetto. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It's very soft.
So how do you feel about Elvis then being classed as the guy who brought black to white and mixed it all and created rock and roll?
Well, I'm glad it worked for him, but all it is a goddamn unadulterated lie. There were 50 million white boys in America that sounded like niggers that were trying to stop it, to stop sounding like one. But because they were born in the Deep South and they hadn't listened to Dean Martin, they hadn't tried to refine themselves, and they haven't even gotten out on the record. But Elvis was trying to get the old country hick thing label off of him. So instead of I, he was trying to use the words I. Instead of my, he used the words my.
Yeah.
You know, he was trying very hard to get the stench of horse shit out of his hair when everybody else didn't care. That was aftershave lotion as far as they were concerned.
So you think he was kind of knocked into a particular shape by Sam? Who was looking to...
Well, he knew that Sam wanted that because Sam's secretary told him that.
Yeah, a black man
and,
like a white.
And of course he listened to the black music all the time, but he couldn't copy. Like, That's All Right Little Mama, I do it on my album, and I do it the way that the niggers did it.
Yeah.
And I do Hound Dog the way Big Mama Thornton did it. But Elvis couldn't do it if he wanted to.
Hi, Joe Jackson here again, and I thank you for listening to this short section from one of my podcasts. The Joe Jackson Interviews, as I said, is available from all major podcast servers, and the articles I wrote are available at joejacksoninterviewer.com.